This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Game Day pregame show. For your most up-to-date sports content and betting odds, make sure you check out the Game Day. The link is in the description of this video. You still got time before tonight's game, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to place bets of any kind, make sure you go check out the Game Day. A lot of talk going on about lineups. Yesterday, Tom Thibodeau, in his post-practice interview, was asked questions about lineups and whether or not the Knicks would come into San Antonio with a different lineup. He said possibly. I took a look at some pictures from the New York Knicks practice. You see Taj Gibson in a blue uniform. Maybe Taj Gibson will be in that starting lineup. Who knows? But it's very apparent that Tom Thibodeau is definitely considering more lineup changes. He desperately wants to get the New York Knicks on the winning track. And this is him, ladies and gentlemen, from San Antonio this morning at the pregame shoot-around talking about the possibility of lineup changes. Let's take a listen.
About maybe mulling over some changes. Have you thought about it?
Still mulling.
What the center position, I know, could be a possibility with things. What are you looking at that
just
position
thinking
too?
about everything, and like I said, we just want to go step by step and practice well, have a good shoot around, be ready to play. We got to get going.
You always say that, like, you need to ask the two questions of whether, I forget what it is, but
Yeah.
they're
The
putting in
intensity
effort.
first, and then
Exactly.
execution second. Yeah.
What is your process and what you're looking at now? Is it coverages? Is it lineups? Like what do you,
It's all of the above to see where the breakdowns occur, what groups are performing well together. And like I said, it's, if you, like in going back and looking at the Atlanta game, I thought we played real well in that game. The Brooklyn game, I thought we played real well, had a good chance to win that game. The Chicago game, it's miss, Derek wide open. I missed his shot, but played well enough to win. We didn't play well in the Denver game. So, but get back in, just, get everyone working together and get our focus back, get the intensity right, and get the unselfishness together. We got to get out of it together. Got to play well.
Is it fair to say Mitch isn't moving the way he's capable of, whether it be injuries or what do you see from him?
Well, the interesting thing is, there were stretches that I thought he moved really well. I think the conditioning aspect is still something that he's working on, there's been some real good moments and some moments that haven't been as good as we would like, but that could be said for our whole team. And so, there have been some great games, and there's been some games where we didn't play well. So we have to develop a consistency, and we got to concentrate on improvement.
I think you talk all the time about the rim protection those two give you, him and Nerlens.
Yeah.
But it seems like you haven't had them healthy at full health almost at all this season.
Yeah, and and I just think that that's where our league is right now. It's not just us; it's everyone, and so that's why everyone has to be ready. And hey, look, you can't be here without being a great player. So everyone's capable. So if one guy's out, the next guy get in there, get the job done. It's really that simple.
How
What
much?
goes into a good conditioning with Mitch when you're in real-time games?
Yeah, I just think it's the fact of the matter is he was out so long,
Right.
And he missed all the summer, he missed all the fall, and basically got cleared right before we started training camp. And even then, like he couldn't do the entire practice. So it's been a work in progress. And, you can go on a pole, you could be on a bike, you can do all that stuff. It's not the same as, body on body. It's just, there's a physicality to it, and there's, it's a lot different. So he's still, he's doing a lot extra right now, which is good, and, he'll get there.
When you were at your best last season, second half of the season, Noel's the starting center. So how much do you think about that, when you make this?
Well, and that's the thing, is like, you can look at anything in snippets and say, well, this was good. Well, right before Mitch got hurt, he was playing great basketball for us. And so you look back and, I looked at our Atlanta games from the regular season. He played well in the games he played. So he's, he had great moments. Nerls went in there. He had great moments for us. But, I think a big part of every season is figuring out your team. And, we started slowly last year, but we worked our way through it. And that's what we have to do. We have to work our way through this.
When you talk about needing focus and effort, can it be a good thing to be on the road this week, 3 games where you guys are together, huddled together, out on the road together?
Yeah, well, and that's the way you have to look at everything. I think being mentally tough when you face adversity is a big part of winning. And, if we're on the road, that's what we deal with. If we're home, that's what we have to deal with. It's whatever is in front of you. Look at it and say, okay, how are we going to figure this out together? How are we going to work together? How do we continue to improve? And that's what you have to do. The games reveal exactly where you are. So we know what we have to do better. Now we just have to get that done.
Kemba finally spoke, talked about maybe I could be a role model and how I'm handling. Does that make you feel good as a coach?
Well, I have, great respect for Kemba and all that he's done, and who he is as a person, who he is as a player, and that's who he is. And whatever way he could help the team, I know he'll help the team that way. So, and that's what we expect of everyone. There's, the team has to come first for everyone, and he is a good example for our players.
All right, thanks, Tips.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tom Thibodeau. And, you heard a lot of talk about lineup. You heard a lot of talk about the center position. I don't know, Steph, what do you think? Right now, when you look at the injury report for the Knicks, everybody's available, including Mitch, including Nerlens Noel, including Taj Gibson. For the Spurs, they've got Devin Vassell is out, Zach Collins is out, and then they have the young guy, Devontae, who is in the G League. But, Steph, what do you think about the possibility of Taj Gibson maybe being in that starting lineup? I did the video yesterday about Taj Gibson wearing a blue jersey, Mitchell Robinson in a white jersey. Do you think there's going to be more lineup changes for tonight's game?
There might be. I mean, I would hope if it is, it's Noel over Taj. Mitch is just not there yet. Noel is there, but he can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the, on the floor. That's the issue with him, But if both are available, I would go with Noel, actually, and yeah, bring Mitch along slowly. He's just not ready.
Right. He's not. And it could be that he's still worried about his foot. It could be any number of reasons. Obviously, people point to, the fact that he put on pounds, or put on muscle or whatever, and it's slowing him down. People are going to point to that. But it could be, him worried about his foot, and maybe he's not as comfortable as everyone thought that he would or should be at this point in the season. Who knows? But I think the reasoning, if it is Taj Gibson who's starting, I think the reasoning behind Tom Thibodeau's thought process would be the little things that Taj does that could add to that starting unit. His ability to set screens, his just overall basketball IQ. Whether it's on the defensive or the offensive side of the ball, a lot of little things that Taj Gibson does that I think really does help the team out when he's on the floor. And then his leadership. Obviously, he didn't show it the other day when he got kicked out the game, but his leadership also helps the team. So those may be some reasons, and he could very well use them the same way he did with Elfrid Payton last year. Still just 12 minutes, but hoping that he helps to get the game flowing and start it in the right direction.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point. I don't know, Sam.
I know. And he said he's still mulling it over. Now it's just hours before the game. I find it hard to believe that he's still mulling it over. I think he does know. He's just not putting it out there, on whether or not there's going to be a change in that starting lineup and if it's going to be for that center position. So he definitely knows. He's just not letting it out there for everybody. As a matter of fact, he probably knew yesterday and even the day before, or I guess I'll say yesterday, and whoever it is that's coming out of the lineup and going into the lineup, if that's to happen, probably knows.
Right.
I find it hard to believe that he's just gonna, he's gonna wait until, a couple minutes before game time to say, oh, no, you're not starting. I don't think he'd do that.
Right. And I think they've been practicing this way for the past few days as well.
Right. Exactly. So I'm pretty sure they know what's going on. We don't. So because we don't know what's going on, I guess we'll stick with the same starting lineup until we find out what's going on. Right. So your projected starting lineups for tonight: Alec Burks at the point guard spot, Evan Fournier at shooting guard, RJ Barrett at small forward, Julius Randle at power forward, and right now Mitchell Robinson at the center spot. And for the San Antonio Spurs, you have DeJounte Murray at point guard, Derek White at shooting guard, Keldon Johnson at small forward, Doug McDermott at power forward, and Jake Pirtle at the center spot. When you look at those two rosters, you say the Knicks should win matchups all over the board.
Yep.
Right? But it hasn't been that way. And even when we play a team and we say we should win this matchup, a lot of times it just hasn't gone that way so far this season, where we're losing matchups that we shouldn't lose. I mean, just the previous game, Julius Randle, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say lost his matchup to Najee or whatever the guy's name was. Even though Najee didn't have more points than him and stuff like that, Najee had 21 points and came into the game averaging 6. As far as I'm concerned, Julius Randle lost that matchup. You know what I mean? What do you think about these matchups so far? Let's start with Alec Burks and DeJounte Murray, because that's probably the key matchup for the night.
Right. I mean, I think the first thing that jumps off the board is we can at least talk about that matchup. I mean, whenever we talk about the point guard matchup before, Kemba always lost the matchup. Like it wasn't even anything to talk about. At least now we could talk about it. The reason why I give DeJounte Murray the edge, I think Alec Burke, as far as counting stats, points, rebounds, threes made, he may outplay Murray in that respect. But in terms of leading the team, in terms of being that playmaker, in terms of getting people in position, I think DeJounte Murray has just been doing it longer. And I think that's what gives him the edge.
Right. I agree with that. And doing it longer, being in Popovich's system longer, knowing everything that Popovich expects, I think that goes a really long way in, just being able to run your basketball team. And DeJounte Murray, that's what he's done throughout his career, is run a basketball team. And Alec Burks has only done it in spot minutes.
Right.
So in that respect, I definitely agree with you. I would give the edge to DeJounte Murray. Maybe the stats go Burks' way,
right? But
the overall edge might go to DeJounte Murray. I think I agree with you. Evan Fournier and Derek White.
Evan Fournier, I mean, he's still getting a lot of heat, but over the past 3-4 games, I think he's been playing better.
Yeah.
Even on the defensive end, if you watch him, I see him fighting over screens, trying to stay attached, giving more effort, hitting the three, hitting more of his shots. I don't know what his field goal percentage has been over the past 3-4 years, but it looks like more of them are going in. He can win this matchup. He could definitely win this matchup. Yeah, I'm going to give Fournier the edge. Maybe I'm a homer, but I'm going to give Fournier the edge.
I think he should have the edge in this matchup. I mean, Derek White, I don't even know how long Derek White's been in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that always matters.
Right.
Right. But, he's 6'4", kind of small. He's averaging 12 points a game, 3.5 rebounds. Does average 5 assists per game. He is shooting from the field 39% from the field, 39.7% from the field, and 28.8% from three on the season. So he's not even shooting that well
right
on the season. Now, if we let this guy get off and shoot 50% from the field and 45% from three, I'm going to be hot.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to be hot.
He's capable, though.
He's capable of doing that.
Yeah. And
his numbers are down from the previous season as far as percentages, a little bit. Last year, he shot 41% from the field, but 34% from three. So, yes, he is capable.
So not a great shooter.
Right. He's not a great shooter. You know what I mean? He should be a guy. He attempts about 6 3-point attempts per game, so he is going to let him up there. But, yeah, I agree. This is a matchup that Fournier should win, just based on his history in the league. But, it's everything with the Knicks is just so up and down.
Right.
You just never know what's going to happen. Fournier so far this season is averaging 13 points a game. He doesn't give you much, as far as rebounds and assists per game, but he's shooting 39.4% from three. Fournier is, which, maybe shocked. I mean, that just shocked me right now because it doesn't seem like he's shooting that well from the three-point line, right? And he's taking almost 7 attempts a game.
Fournier?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's averaging 6.7 attempts per game so far this season. And he's shooting overall 41.6% from the field. So, as far as attempts, I think his attempts are probably down this year. Yeah. He's taking 11.6 attempts per game. I'm not even worried about Boston, but prior to Boston in Orlando, he was taking 14 attempts per game. That's about what he averaged. So he's down about 3 attempts per game.
Right.
Yeah. Overall from the field, he's not shooting, as high as he normally does. He's normally around a 45, 46% shooter from the field. This year he's shooting 41%. So that should be a good matchup, I guess. Good matchup.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett and Keldon Johnson.
Listen, I expect RJ Barrett to come out of his slump on this 3-game road trip. I'm hoping that, Tibbs' comments lit a fire under him. Not that it was needed, but I hope that it did. I know Keldon Johnson is a good player. What's he's averaging this season?
He's averaging 15 a game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 15 a game. He's shooting 46.7% from the field. He's shooting 40.6% from three, but he's only attempting three-point attempts per game. Yeah, 6.5 rebounds, 2 assists.
Yeah. Whew. If we going by how RJ has been playing up to this point, I would give Keldon Johnson the edge. But I would say though that his defense, it's been pretty solid. I'm not going to say it's been elite, but it's been pretty solid. It's been pretty good. So if he's averaging 15 points on those percentages, I would think if RJ's head is in it, at least on the defensive end, that should come down. It's just, where's RJ Barrett offensively? I'm gonna say it's a wash.
Yeah, it probably is a wash. I would think it's about a wash. RJ, so much is determined by how this team is playing, right? When the team is playing well offensively, everyone seems to be hitting, everyone seems to be on the same page. More than not, this season, they just haven't really clicked, and so it's spotty as far as who produces for you. But
Right.
I think that it probably would be a wash. Julius Randle and Doug McDermott. I think that Julius Randle should win this matchup,
Absolutely.
right? But what scares me about Doug McDermott is, he's a guy that moves off the ball.
Right.
A lot of running off screens, cutting back door. I remember when he was with the Knicks, and what's his name used to find him cutting back door all the time.
Right.
He's a really good guy to be in Greg Popovich's system and play his style of basketball. So that I do get worried about that with Julius Randle guarding him, because that means Julius Randle's got to chase him around a lot.
Right.
And if I'm Greg Popovich, I'm like, hey, we're going to use Doug McDermott. If Julius Randle is guarding Doug McDermott, we're going to make him chase Dougie around. Because either he's not going to do it all the way, he's going to, try to switch off with someone else, or we're just going to tire him out so that his legs are tired when it comes to fourth quarter.
Right. And that's the question I have, Sim, because I don't want to sound like I don't think Julius should play defense. I just think that it's a lot to be the leading scorer, facilitate the offense, and chase a Doug McDermott, around. So I think, he's going to have to give up something. I don't think he's going to be able to do all three effectively. And I think if I had to choose, I'm on record as saying the facilitating. You just got to give it up.
Yeah.
If you focusing on playing defense and scoring when you get the ball, that's enough. That's enough.
Right.
But I still think he should win this, matchup. But it's going to come down to his defense. Because like somebody said in the chat, we're going to have Doug McDermott looking like Steph Curry if he doesn't.
Right. Right. And Doug McDermott, he can light it up. I mean, so far this season, he's averaging 11 points. He's shooting 47% from the field and 44% from the three-point line.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe we put him on Keldon Johnson and put RJ Barrett on.
Maybe that is something you do, because, he's knocking it down from three this season. And he's taking, let's see, how many attempts is he taking this season? He's taking about 5 attempts per game. But he's shooting, 43.8%. So basically 44% from the three-point line. Let me see. Doug McDermott is 6'7". How tall is Keldon Johnson?
I think he's pretty tall too, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. And try to look. I'm waiting for it to come up. But it may, depending, it might make sense to do that. Keldon Johnson is, and it didn't. I think he's 6'6". Yeah, 6'6".
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah. I guess. Randall's what, 6'8"?
Yeah.
All right. So he could still, maybe guard Keldon Johnson. I don't know. Either way, one of those guys has to guard Randall. And Randall should overpower either one of them and be able to take him down low, score in the post. He should be faster and stronger than both of those guys. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, he should win this matchup. He should win the matchup. We'll see. And then you got Mitchell Robinson and Jake Pirtle, assuming that Mitchell Robinson is the starting center today or tonight. What do you expect from that matchup?
I'm going Portal. Maybe I'm a little down on Mitch right now. But you know what? I will say, if you get Mitch in like short spurts, He's definitely better than when he has to play, extended minutes. He hasn't been bad. He just hasn't been that difference maker. He's just been solid.
Right.
What's Portal? Do you have the stats in front of you?
Yeah, dude. The good thing about this matchup is he's not a 3-point shooter, right?
Right. Okay.
So that's a good thing about the matchup. He's averaging 12 points a game, 9.4 rebounds per game, shooting 62% from the field. He's not a good free throw shooter. He shoots like 32% from the free throw line.
Wow. Wow. What about blocks? Is he a rim protector?
Averages 1.5 blocks per game.
That should be a good matchup, actually.
It should be. I think the thing about Pirtle is he knows what he has to do in his system with Greg Popovich. You know what I mean? And I think that's a big difference maker. It's almost the same thing like with DeJounte Murray and Alec Burks. Murray's been in that system for a while. Obviously, he's ran the point guard spot his entire life. Alec Burks is, I don't want to say new to him, but it's just been sometimes running that position. With Pirtle, he knows exactly what Greg Popovich expects. He knows what his role is. I still question whether or not Mitch knows what his role is.
Right.
Or understands what his role is. Not that Tom Thibodeau didn't tell him what his role is or stress it to him, but does Mitchell get it?
Right. Enough to execute it.
Exactly. So I think that's where the question comes in with this matchup.
Right.
What's weird is when you look at the Spurs and you look at the Knicks, it's like, man, they don't even who are they playing? Who's out there on the floor? But when you really start to break down the matchups, you say, wow, this could be a lot tougher than a lot of people would think it is.
And you know why, Sam? Because chemistry matters. If you have a team that knows the system, been playing in the system, doing well in the system, when they lose to better teams for the most part.
Right.
When you have a team, even with better individual players, and they don't have chemistry, they can lose to worse teams. They can beat good teams. Like, you just don't know, what you're getting. And I think that's what we have with the Knicks. The chemistry is not there yet. Right. So, even though our record is better, I think it's going to be a close game.
And yeah, because even though our record is better, recently we haven't been playing better.
Right.
They've been playing some good basketball recently. So, I think that's going to make a big difference.
Right.
When you do the team comparison, right now the Knicks are averaging 106.5 points per game. Now, this is for the season overall. I haven't broken down. Well, you did. You broke down the other night, last night, what they've been averaging with Alec Burks as the starter.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can go check that out and you can see what that breakdown is. What the Knicks offense and defense looks like with Alec Burks as the starter. But for the season, the Knicks are averaging 106.5 points per game. Spurs 107.5. The Knicks 45.4 rebounds. The Spurs 44. The Knicks are averaging 21.6 assists. Spurs, always an assist-heavy team, average 27 assists on the season.
Wow.
Yeah. That means the Knicks defense, they better be ready to move. The Knicks averaging 7 steals, the Spurs 8.8. Both teams around 5 blocks. Both teams around 13 turnovers. The Knicks shooting 44% from the field, while the Spurs are shooting 46% from the field. The Knicks at 36% from 3. The Spurs at 34.6% from 3. The Knicks shoot 77% from the free throw line, and the Spurs don't shoot that well from the 3-point line, from the free throw line. They're at like 69.8% from the free throw line.
Wow.
Yeah, come crunch time, that could mean something. Of course, if Julius Randle's on the line in crunch time, he's probably
right.
He's going to get 1 or 2.
Right.
Points in the paint, the Spurs average 54 points in the paint. 54. Wow. Yeah, and the Knicks average 43.9. And it's not like they have it's not like the Spurs have these big bodies. I think it's because of ball movement, man movement, guys cutting to the basket, backdoor cuts,
Right.
you
Right.
know, different slashes to the cup. And I think it might be hard for the Knicks to defend them. Might be hard.
If they're moving like that.
If they're moving like that,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the only thing that can explain it to me. Jacob Pertle's their biggest guy, and he's only averaging 12 points a game.
Right.
So
I wonder if DeJounte Murray is getting in the lane and finishing, but that's not going to count for 54, though.
Right. You know what I mean? So it's got to be everybody getting into the lane. I mean, they're averaging 107 points per game. Half of their points are coming in the paint.
Wow.
So,
wow.
That's something we've really got to pay attention to. Second chance points, both teams are about 14 second chance points per game. The Spurs average 14.5 fast break points per game, and the Knicks average 11.3. Spurs are led in scoring by DeJounte Murray. He also leads them in rebounds and assists. Same thing with Julius Randle. And then Derek White leads the Spurs in blocks at just under 1 block per game. And the Knicks are led by Mitchell Robinson at 1.7 blocks per game. The Knicks should be able to. The Knicks should be the team tonight scoring 54 points in the paint. You would think that they have an advantage there, but it's hard. It's hard to say. But over the last 5 games, the New York Knicks are 1-4. The Spurs are 4-1. Mm-hmm. The Knicks are averaging 104 points. They're shooting 44% from the field. They're shooting 33% from 3. They're only grabbing 44 rebounds a game and only 20 assists. Mm. The Knicks' offensive rating is 109, and their defensive rating is 117.7. That's in the last 5 games. The Spurs, on the other hand, they're 4-1 over the last 5 games. They're averaging 108 points per game. They're shooting 47% from the field. They're shooting 36% from 3. They're grabbing 47.6 rebounds per game. They still average 27 assists per game. Their offensive rating is 110.9, and their defensive rating is 99.6 over the last 5 games.
Wow.
These two teams look like right now they're going in opposite directions, with the Knicks going down and the Spurs headed upwards. So that, I think, that's concerning for me. Yeah. I'm concerned at that because
we're limping in, and they on all cylinders.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like.
Exactly. So regardless of what the record says, they've been they're playing good basketball. And we're just not playing good basketball, which could be scary for the New York Knicks tonight.
Yeah.
I don't like the way the numbers look. I don't like the way the numbers look at all, and the way the Knicks are playing, and some of the things that the Spurs do, and the way that they play basketball. I'm concerned about this game because I don't like the way it's looking.
Yeah,
I hate to say it that way, but I really don't like the way it's looking at all.
Yeah.
For tonight's game.
It's looking worse now before you went over the stats. Now I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I really don't like the way it's looking. Cornerstone Kev, what's up, man?
Hey, salute to the chat. Salute to my sister again. I'm going to keep saying it. Thank you so much for having me last night on your show.
Of course. Anytime.
I had a great time. Last night. And salute to you, Mr. Sim.
Appreciate
I know you're going to, I know you got that baseball bat on the side of you because you're going to hit me upside the head of why I didn't come and see you.
Yeah. I'm holding that grudge. I'm holding that grudge.
Yeah, I know you'll hold that grudge.
I'm holding that grudge. You know what I'm saying? You're in Maryland. You don't even holler at a brother. You don't even say, hey, I will
totally redeem myself.
Foul business.
I will totally redeem myself. So, I'm going to be the optimist.
Uh-oh.
I'm going to be the optimist. Everything that y'all were just saying on paper would totally agree with, us getting waxed. But I think we might come up with a better effort than what we did on Saturday. Because I will say again, aside from a quarter here and there between the Nets game and the Chicago game, we were right there, and we even took the lead. So so again, if we can have that same effort that we had against Brooklyn and Chicago, I think we could come out winning this one. I just want to see a better effort than what we saw against Denver. You got to you got to give me a better effort than what you saw against Denver, because everyone was saying we were down 30. Honestly, I turned it off when we were down like 15, and we kept, we were hitting the shot, but then they were hitting 2 more shots and everything. So I really didn't see us being down 30. I think I probably would have, drunk some cyanide if I would have saw that. So, but I'm going to be the optimist tonight.
Here's where I'm concerned, Kev. For a lot of the same reasons besides Jokic, right? Jokic can knock down threes, Pirlo doesn't. But for a lot of the same reasons that we couldn't deal with Denver, deal with their offense, the Spurs do the same type of things. The way that they move the basketball, the way that they had people cutting away from the basketball, cutting, slashing down the basket, scissor cuts, backdoor cuts. These type of things bother the Knicks. Because as Mark says, we got guys with stone feet. You know what I'm saying? I've never agreed with Mark that much before. I agree with him on that. We do have that. I think the only one that doesn't have stone feet is Obi, because he's always moving around. At least on the offensive end, pretty much. But this is where I'm really concerned about playing the Spurs tonight and looking at what they're doing over the last 5 games. They're starting to click offensively and defensively, and we're not clicking on either end over the last 5 games. So just looking at the trends, I'm a little bit nervous.
You know what makes me feel a little better? One, we're 0-3, so there should definitely be a sense of urgency tonight. And the reality is, like I said last night, Mitch, RJ, and Randall have been underperforming, even if it's slightly, as far as Randall is concerned. If they ever turn it around, the Knicks, would be able to win this game. That's a big if, given, how they've played so far.
Right. And I'm hoping that the desperation, has set in, and they feel like, we got to come out and do something and show something.
Just like biting claw to get this win. Just biting claw to get this win.
Right. Big shout out to It's Your Boy. He said, how you feel about a possible Norman Powell trade? He brings defense and shooting that the Knicks need at the guard position. Just a thought. Is he even available?
Right, that was my question.
That's the for any trade you got to look at that. Is that guy available, and is that team willing? Whoever the team is, are they willing to trade him? That's always the question.
Right. And he's 6'4", so that means he's going to play the 2 if this were to happen, and then RJ is stuck in that 3 spot.
Right. And then you're assuming that team is gonna. I guess you'd be moving Fournier. He's going to want Fournier. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Looking at my keys to the game, my first key to the game is normally, people say play with pride. And I thought about that. But I have play like you have expectations.
Right.
Because I think this team had expectations. Right. And when you have expectations of yourself and you plan to uphold those expectations and uphold certain standards, you come out and perform that way, especially when you're in the situation the Knicks are in now. So that's why I put in there, play like you have expectations to be a playoff team. Because right now you're out of the playoffs, you're out of the play-in. So if you expect to be a playoff team, then you need to play like it.
Yeah.
They need to come out and play like it. I'm pretty sure they're a proud group. So I think they play proud anyway, but now they need to play like they expect something of themselves. And it's not how they're playing now. They don't expect that.
Right.
Defensive and offensive communication. I think the previous game, man, we really seen just bad communication all the way around from RJ and Randall, not being able to communicate over a simple rebound to, three guys. There's this clip all over Twitter there's two clips all over Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is Julius Randle on offense, and, the clip just shows, cues in on Julius Randle, looking at the offense. Clearly, people saying he's just standing there not doing nothing. But, for those who know basketball, understand that the ball was on the opposite side of the floor and there was action over there. So he was standing in a spot that the ball could be passed to him. So, that's one thing. But then, of course, they look at on the other end when Jokic drove down the lane and Julius Randle didn't go over to help, right? And he could have went over and helped. He could have, took a jab and stepped in to go over and help, but he did have Najee who was over in the corner, and you have to figure out, does Tom Thibodeau want to give up that short corner three for that or not? Or also, how did how did he get down the lane and past a whole bunch of defenders,
Right.
to be available to dunk the ball and to make it where Julius Randle had to help? How did he get it past Mitch and whoever else was out there? You know what I mean? So that's another question you got to ask. But then there's also another clip where Najee gets a wide open three. Julius Randle was under the basket, and instead of closing out, he looks at him, and then he turns around and thinking there's going to get a rebound, and there wasn't a rebound, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was poor defense. Even if you were out of position, you got to close out.
Right.
Bottom line,
Right.
You close out, because if you close out on a guy, he may look at you when he rises up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who knows what's going to happen? Or he may say, "Oh, I don't got it. He's closing out," and you make the guy think. Let's put it like that. Right. But that whole entire play was miscommunication by the Knicks. Right. Derrick Rose had was defending Aaron Gordon down low. So both Julius Randle and Evan Fournier go to help Derrick Rose. Both of them go to help Derrick Rose, leaving Najee open, and I forgot who it was, whoever it was that Evan Fournier was guarding open, right, on the opposite side of the floor. And then Derrick Rose left, and he went to get, he left Aaron Gordon and went to guard the guy that he should have been guarding. And then Evan Fournier and Julius Randle, none of them really communicate about who's going to get Gordon. And so they both stand there. Najee gets the ball, and then Julius Randle doesn't close out. Like, that's just bad communication. Right. Terrible communication all the way around. So I think we've got to have good defensive and offensive communication. We're playing the Spurs, as we've been talking about the entire show. They're going to have good defensive. We've got to have good defensive rotations and closeouts. Right? They're a team that's going to cut to the basket. We got to be able to help rotate back out to our man. We need to be able to jam the cutters. You know what I mean? Don't let guys go back door. Understand, just proper defensive spacing so that these guys don't slash and cut all over us. And that's what I'm afraid of in this game. I think we got to win the matchups that we should win. We were talking about that with Julius Randle and Doug McDermott, right? Evan Fournier and
Derek White.
I
think we got to win those matchups. Then we got to keep our composure still, right? Because the pressure is mounting. If the calls ain't going our way, we can't lose it. We got to keep our composure, try to have a good third quarter. Or, and maybe I'll substitute that with, let's not have a 5 to 6 minute stretch where we can't score. Because lately that's been coming in the second or third quarter.
Right.
Right. And then fourth quarter execution if it gets to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any Steph, anything you like to add? Here he goes again.
Still wet, still moist too.
Yeah.
It's
Come on
not.
Come
It's
on.
not
What's
moist.
going on, Kev?
It just I haven't coughed in like I don't know how long. I mean, come on now.
Come on, Kev. All the listeners just put a mask on. Everybody do.
No.
Everybody
that's
just put a mask on.
That's all done with. That's all done with.
Everybody just put a mask on.
Back to your.
Gee.
Okay. All right.
All you gotta do is hit the mute button.
All right. It just happened. To your point with the composure in the third quarter and the fourth quarter execution, we have to come up with a good start in the first quarter, because if you remember the Bulls game on our home floor, we just totally lost it, and we were already down like 20 something. So I mean, again, we came back, but we had to work to come back. So we just have to come out with a really good start in the first quarter, because I think that'll set the tone.
Yeah. Okay. Steph?
I think these keys to the game are right on point. The two I want to point out is when the matchups you should win. We talking about Tibbs, we talking about the offense, we talking about this. The bottom line is guys are not playing up to par. Randall plays up to par, RJ plays up to par. This team is in a different place. And that's really what it comes down to. Mitch as well. So we win our matchups, we win this game, and the fourth quarter execution. Down the stretch, you have to be better. You just have to be better. And that's particularly for Randall, who's, all right, growing into being a number one on the team, whatever you want to call it. The good ones, the number ones, down the stretch, they come up big for you. And that's what he needs to do.
Exactly. Without a doubt. I do want to recognize a super chat. Let me get it up here on the board. Thank you to Jaden Sammy. He said, do y'all think bringing up Luka Samanic would be a good idea if Noel and Mitch continue to either be unavailable or not play up to par? He's also a stretch big.
Yep.
I guess it's going to depend on the availability. Is he going to play over Jericho Sims? I know you said if Noel and Mitch continue to be unavailable or not play up to par. Now, definitely if one of those guys is unavailable, then, and they go out for a lengthy period, you might think about bringing them up. Yeah.
So Sim, on that super chat right there, what he was talking about with Luka. Now we see, I just caught on to see what he's doing in the G League.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would translate into, playing in the NBA right now? I mean, I know he's already played in the NBA before, but would that translate into it right now of what he's doing in the G League? Because I saw him play. I mean, he looks good, but it is the G League.
I mean, he's going to be able to score in the NBA. We're not going to expect him to be a 20-point scorer, but he's going to be able to score. The thing is, can he defend?
Right,
defend
which I haven't really seen. I've only seen highlights of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's always the big key with the guys in the G League. When anyone coming into the league, a lot of times, you got guys that can score, all over. But can they defend, and can they do the little things, and can they play with the speed of the NBA? So,
right.
We'll see.
I think Miles McBride can, but anyway.
I see someone else in the chat. I don't remember who it was. Say that the Spurs might play zone, and this reminds me that the Spurs last year, this whole thing, this quasi zone that teams play against Julius Randle and the Knicks, the Spurs kind of started that last year. Right? They were the first team that I saw actually play this. When Randle has the ball, you're in the zone. When anyone else has the ball, you're in a man, and kind of send somebody halfway to double team, but not fully, and make Julius Randle have to make a decision. They were the first team to do that.
Right.
So
shout out to Craig Mack. He said it was him.
Oh, it was Craig Mack. Shout out to you, Craig Mack. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll see if that's I'm sure that they'll continue that defensive strategy. Hopefully, Julius Randle learns how to break it this game. Let it come full circle. Maybe he learns how to break it this game, and then, boom, he's off to the races. We'll see.
Right.
When you mean break it, you mean operating in the post. Is that?
Or just figuring out how to beat this whole defense that teams play against them.
Okay. All right.
We'll see. Well, anyway, I got to get out of here. I got a meeting that I'm already 2 minutes late for.
You already got his meeting, man.
Some quick predictions for tonight's game.
Own show, and he got a meeting and everything.
That's what happens when you cough all over the mic. I got to go clean my mic and all that.
You know what? You are.
Any predictions for tonight's game?
Knicks by 4. I think the urgency after going 0-3, the urgency, they care. They'll do it tonight.
Okay. Dang, what's your name?
Wow.
Kev.
Just wow. My God, man. Yeah, I'm about to cough again. I'm going to go with Steph. I'm going to go Knicks by 4 as well. Again, I think they'll put out a great effort tonight. The pride thing is going to really kick in, and just like I was saying on Steph's show last night, take each game now, just one game at a time. So you win this one, you're at 500. Try to get tomorrow in Indiana, then you're a game above 500. Okay. But handle tonight first to get to 500.
Right.
And while you in Indiana, bring some of them players back with you. I hear
Brogdon and Turner. Bring Brogdon and Turner back.
You saw that. I sure did. Sure did. Twitter is lit, man. Yeah. Twitter is lit.
Reluctantly, I am reluctantly going with the Knicks. Reluctantly, because I'm just so nervous about what the Spurs have been doing lately and the way that they play. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm out of here. I appreciate you, Steph. Cornerstone. Next time you're in Maryland, Cornerstone. Next time you're in Maryland. Anyway, we out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Peace. Post-game show.
Post-game tonight.
This is NBK. Nothing but Knicks. When send past the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.